Welcome to lecture number 12 of this Vibe Coding 101 crash course. In this lecture, I would like to teach you a few core web development concepts that will take you a long way, especially when you're asking your cursor on how to do things. If you know these small concepts, then you will be able to ask the right questions. So it's a part of a open source documentation project called Vibe Coding Core Concepts that I would like to maintain for a long time. Right now it has 50 topics in total, and I will try to expand it to 100 or 200 topics by the passage of time. Right now we don't have to go through all of these things, but I will go through a few things. So as we already discussed what is vibe coding in the first lectures, it's basically the natural way of using human language. This can be one of the 50 languages that LLMs knows, or the LLM of your choice knows. You use the natural language as you saw until now, building software, that's that. And then we use LLMs to generate code. So there are a lot of these cool topics that are really nice I would like you guys to go through, but let's start from a few simple ones. The internet fundamentals, you can work on it by yourself. Let's go to HTTP and posts and so on. So whatever website that you open, you will see something. This is called a URL. And this URL comes with multiple layers. I think there is one section where URLs or URIs. Okay, this is a good concept that I should put in this list, but I just realized that you need to know about this. So let's talk about URLs. When you pick a URL has a lot of different sections. The first section, or this section, is called, let me do it like this. This section is called the protocol. Okay, and then there is this section, and then there is these sections, and then there is more sections which I will explain in a minute. So the first section is called a protocol, and this one you can have like HTTP, which is not a secure one, HTTPS, which is a secure one, TCP, which is the I'm not sure if TCP can be done with the browser. Let's just be simple with this level, FTP, and so on. There could be spatial protocols, but the mostly common protocol is this HTTPS. This means a secure protocol. It has a so-called SSL certificate. What's an SSL certificate? An SSL certificate is secure socket layers. It's a certificate that you get from well-known bodies in order for your website to be secure. When we deploy our VibeStage software to Firebase app hosting, Firebase app hosting will give us an SSL certificate. And therefore, this will have, our website will also have this S in front of it. If you're not using off-the-shelf software deployment methods like Vercel or Firebase app hosting and so on, you don't get that SSL certificate off the shelf. You need to acquire it yourself from companies like Let's Encrypt, or it's not a company, I think it's a nonprofit. And then acquiring this becomes really a tough job. You need to do this by yourself with running a lot of commands in your terminal. But in the way we do, we will acquire this SSL certificate pretty much automatically. Firebase does it for us. So this is called the domain thing. This is the main domain. Domains can also have these TLDs, top-level domains, .com, .io, I don't know, .ai, and so on and so forth. Then there is this path level. This is called path. So this is the exact address or path to a given route, or it's also called the route. And then there comes a few more things. You can have like a query value, and then you can have like a query to, a value to, and then you can have like a so-called segment. So what does that mean? Let me first put it here. Let me actually check if it has a segment. If I copy that and come over here, it probably will have a segment already. Why does it not copy? Okay, at least it puts it here. It's already there. Perfect. It has everything that we needed for this example. Okay, so now we got these things. This is called a query parameter. As I mentioned, you can have multiple query parameters. So the idea is that you start with a question mark, then your parameter name, and then the equal sign, and then the value of the parameter. And if you want to have more than one parameters, then you use ampersand sign, then you put the second one, third one, and so on and so forth. So that's how you pass parameters to a website. And these parameters needs to be understood by this code that is running in that path or in that route. Otherwise, these parameters don't make any sense. And then there is this so-called segment. In this case, it was this internal fundamentals segment. What it means is like internally in that page, that section needs to be in focus. If I go in that URL that I copied and I open it, you'll see that internal fundamentals is under focus. So that's called the segment. So this is a few small concepts I want to share with you guys so that you know. You can go through the rest of this list. I will continue generating more and more videos like this, but let's carry on with this because I just realized that you need to also know how a JSON is formatted. I'm not sure if I have added it here. It's not. I will explain what a JSON is because you will actually need to do or read a lot of so-called payload, and that is a JSON or a JSON payload. It's basically saying that it's a JavaScript object notation, and it starts with a couple of different formats. So the first thing is it starts with a curly brackets, and then it has these quotation marks, and then it is a so-called property name, and then colon, and then space, and then inside the quotation marks, a value to that property. And this property name is usually without spaces. You can use spaces, but my way is to go with camel case, the so-called camel case. The first character is small, and then the subsequent, each letter's first character is big. Property, for example, name, if let's say we are using it for a building, I don't know, something, ABC, something, whatever. And then you can separate these properties with a comma, and then you can have another property, property 2. Let's give an actual example that this is a payload for a human. So it will have like first name, email, and then last name. So you can see that the second property can be done with this way, like this. And then you can have like as many as you want. There could be a property that has multiple entries. For example, skills. This property can have multiple entries. Therefore, this multiple entry can be opened with a so-called array or square brackets. And then these square brackets can have objects like this. So now I can have the same object structure here. I'll say skill name, for example. I will call it programming. And then another property that I want to capture is number of years. And this can be 23 years. And then you can have multiple skills. Again, the whole object needs to be comma separated. In this case, it was not the whole object, it was just one property. But now it's the whole object. I'm going to copy and paste it like this so that you get an idea of how this thing works. And then another could be, for example, driving. I think it's 15 years. And so on and so forth. You get the point. Now imagine if I want to create this JSON payload for more than one person. Same concept as Wind here, wrapping it with these square brackets. You're going to wrap it here, the entire payload in square brackets, and you guessed it right. A comma in here, and then the entire object will be copy and then pasted here. This is going to be, the next person is going to be John Doe. We will see this happening a lot during the course. So you get the point on how JSON payloads work. Okie dokie. So we'll pick one more concept from here, and then I will park this part of the course as a separate playlist at some point in time, which I will go through most of them, and also I have to kind of like clean it up. Mostly this was generated by AI with a lot of my input in it. But if you know all of these things, this is important. So the next concept I would like to explain is the general concept of so-called HTTP request response cycle. So what you usually have is a so-called web server. A web server basically handles your HTTP requests. In this case, being Excalidraw, for example. Excalidraw example is a very unique example because it does drawing. Let's say you have a website that, well, our web server for VibeStage, basically. You know the concept of VibeStage. For those who have just recently joined and they don't know what is VibeStage, I can quickly explain that. VibeStage is a web application that is going to be used in my workshops. I do monthly regular workshops and we build AI agents. We build actually the same AI agent. We give our AI agent in every month a new skill set. I have in-person attendees and also I have online attendees. I want to build this web application where my online attendees can also, why not in-person attendees, can join and then give me emojis and I see them on the screen. And those emojis will represent the vibe of the stage. Therefore, we call it VibeStage project. So imagine when a user sends a thumbs up emoji, what happens to the whole world of this web server? There is a so-called let's imagine if this is sitting on vibestage.emilsire.com. That's where I'm intending for this project to reside. When this goes to this web server, a user needs to, let's say if that's the user device or the user. Let's take an example of a mobile phone, okay? Your mobile phone uses the Wi-Fi router in order to send a request to this web server. This is called an HTTP request. And what does that HTTP request do? Let's say if you have all these nice emojis and the emoji you want to send me is this love emoji, this hug emoji. When you do that, a request is sent to the web server. The web server does something on the back end. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can so that you can understand it, and then I'll expand it later on when we do the diagrammings of this course. So then the HTTP response comes back to you once the web server performs those tasks. What are those tasks? For example, those tasks could be saving this on the database so that the rest of the people around the world, they can see it on this web application that you sent an emoji of this hug sample. So it always happens like this, and it's so-called stateless. It requests immediately, it gets a response, or maybe it takes some time, it will get a response. And then the connection between the front end or your mobile and the server is disconnected. And then this server is listening for more traffic to come. In the past, it used to be very, very complex to run a web application to serve to hundreds of users, but now it's very, very easy. Like this vibe stage that we are going to work on is a very complex application. It should scale, and it should scale in a way that the mesh network works. But using Firebase, using certain concepts or certain cloud infrastructures, putting together this kind of a web server is an extremely easy approach. You can make it in a weekend, but this usually took a lot of time before. Anyways, I will wrap it up for now here, but it was just to give you a little bit of a tone of this is another corner of concepts that I would like to share on my YouTube channel, especially maybe in the future. Can't promise now, I got busy too much. In the future, I may release a full playlist of like, I don't know, 20 different concepts packed in one playlist about core concepts for vibe coders, especially for non-technical vibe coders, explained like this on whiteboard so that you can understand the core concepts so that you can ask the right questions. If you got any benefit from this video, please leave a message on this video or reach out to me on emilsire.com so that I can produce more videos related to core concepts. Other than that, let's move on with this course. See you in the next lecture.